and that's where the work is, and I got mortgage payments.
I think people forget that. People forget that this is a business, that the companies have to make money. And if the main way to make money is to sell it to TV stations who are going to play it, and then really make money off the toys that they make from that, because merchandising is what does it, then, well, more power to them. If you have to do that to get it on TV, then do that so that it comes over to the States.
Well, and I think that another thing that most people, especially at conventions, don't realize, it's easy to think that because there are 11,000 people here, that you guys are the vast majority.
Right.
And I mean, you may not, but most people think, oh, well, we're at conventions, we go to conventions, we're the vast majority. And
this is what the fandom is.
You guys are the vocal minority, and I mean, that's not a bad thing at all, but you have to understand that most of the people that buy anime aren't you guys. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are the knowledgeable, you guys are the ones that we gear to, but Joe Schmo might buy twice as much as you do next week, and he knows nothing. He doesn't even know that we exist here. You know what I mean?
You never wonder who the voices were behind it, and it doesn't go online.
They may learn as they get older or get more interested, because it's like, in the drug cultures, they talk about the gateway drugs, like drinking and marijuana to get you into heroin, whereas that's like the gateway drug, like beer is like Pokemon. That's the one that everybody gets into first, and that will then lead you into stuff like, Full Metal Alchemist, and then you really dig that, and then maybe you look into more things, and then now you're getting the imports and this, that, and the other, which would be, I guess, the heroin of anime. But, that is the thing.
I'm sorry, I like that analogy.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, that national audience thing, and not to say that, a lot of big companies, I think you guys, the vocal minority of the hardcore fandom, I mean, they are taken into account. I mean, certainly, like I know Pokemon USA, I mean, they listen to what people say. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to agree with you all the time or necessarily do what you want, because they have a whole slew of reasons to do what they do, most of it probably being financial. But everything that people say are taken into account. You're all consumers.
Yeah, and it doesn't make them sing.
No, it doesn't. But it's just, so.
I thought this was the end of the registration line. I was just looking so I'm really into writing, and I want to get from your guys' perspective, how is the industry looking? This is a question I ask every year, like it's almost like a checkpoint. How is the industry looking in the U.S. currently?
How's the industry as of right now in terms of like either sales and DVDs, other merchandise, maybe manga if you do know that side of the market?
I will say that 2007 was not an awesome year for most of the anime industry. I think we saw the shutting down of a couple of studios. Funimation saw a couple of setbacks, but the lucky production companies, the ones who happen to have the good idea at the right time, are rolling with the punches and coming up with ways to make it new and fresh and make 2008 a little bit of a better year, pick the industry back up. For instance, going on iTunes now, if you go on iTunes, Funimation has a lot of shows on iTunes. If you go to the website, you can catch the first episode of a lot of the different series on the site, on the page. That kind of thing, trying to get an anime channel started, any of those things, is our attempt to make the industry as strong as it was before pirating became such a problem. I don't know how successful we'll be, nobody does, but the goal is to make sure that no matter how much downloading is happening, we can still bring anime over to the fans and keep ourselves in jobs. I don't know where we'll be next year, but I can say that it would really help if everybody would stop downloading shit.
Yeah, I just wrote an article for Pick Magazine, and they were asking, is anime dead? And I don't think in any way, shape, or form that anime is dead. However, I will say, and I'm not going to, pirating, yes, bad, whatever. And we know that there's no way to stop that. But I will say that there are certain, over in Europe, there aren't as many standards, and overseas in other countries there aren't as many standards. So you have people that are running these sites where you can pay $5 a month and download all the fan subs you want. And it's considered perfectly legal because there's no way to police them. And so a lot of people have chosen to stop buying DVDs, stop supporting the American companies, thinking, well, I can give the student in Germany $5 a month and get as much anime as I want. Not realizing that by not giving your $5 to the American industry, you're buying that guy a Lamborghini and a $5 million home in the Alps, and meanwhile the American companies aren't able to take that money and put it back into the Japanese. Because basically what we do is we take
We need
that
Lamborghinis
money.
too.
Well, I mean, like, nobody in the anime industry is rich. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like, none of us are rich. None of us are making, you know, huge $1 million salaries or anything like that. John Ledford's not driving a Lamborghini. You know, it's not like that at all. What happens is when you spend money, that money then goes to buy more shows and buy new titles in Japan, and that price is getting higher and higher every year because they, you know, they're suffering as well, and they need to make up the money, so then that comes to us. So if you don't buy DVDs, if people don't support the American industry, then we don't have the money to buy the shows, which means we don't have, we don't have the money to do the things that we once were able to do, and businesses start failing. And that's the only thing that aggravates me, is watching this industry that I love and I've been such a big part of suffer because some jackass, for lack of a better word, is in Europe going, oh, I make lots of money off of American fans. You know what I mean? Like, I just went over there.
Indeed. Well, yeah, moving into the iTunes is smart.
Yeah.
I mean, just because
The Xbox stuff too.
Yeah, and then, well, because also, I mean, that's something that lowers costs, because the physical cost of making DVDs sort of gets eliminated, but also people are just are buying fewer DVDs across the board, not just anime. And anime is not dead, and it's never gonna be dead. But things ebb and flow. It's like the whole .com boom and bust, where anime started to get really, really popular here and really break through, and then it has this sort of trickle-down effect of the Japanese, and they're like, wow, they love our stuff, double the price! And then, you know, it becomes more expensive to license, and people are still going for it, but then they get to a point where they're like, wow, I overspent on this show, and they don't make the money, and then the small companies like CPN and Right Stuff Media Blasters, you know, smaller companies start to get squeezed out of the market because they can't compete anymore because things are so expensive. And, you know, the companies that are doing the strongest are the ones who have the big ties to TV, because, you know, that's what moves the, moves the progress.
The only properties you're going to get over here anymore, eventually, are the big ones, and God knows how they're going to be cut up if we have to make it not an anime industry.
Yeah, it will probably come back around, because eventually, you know, less things being licensed from Japan. The Japanese companies who make these shows, a lot of them really rely on the American market to license their product and to sell it around the world. And when that happens less and less, over there, they're going to have to go, okay, we need to do something about this. Okay, we're going to bring that licensing cost down a little again to more where it used to be. More things will get licensed, and then it'll get expensive again, and this will just sort of cycle on, and all of us will sit here going, please, you know.
And having said all this, Funimation is in no danger of shutting down. It's not like in 2009 there's going to be no Funimation. I fear the trend toward...
That is going to be only Funimation.
No. I fear the trend toward... You don't want that.
No, I don't.
Toward the lowering of expectations on a dub, just because we needed to get out the door cheaper. Right now, we have the freedom to spend a lot of time perfecting it. The script writers get to take a couple of weeks to write a script, and then when we get it, we get to take a couple of weeks to record an episode, and we can get hiccups if we want, go back in and like just make it all right and tight and perfect. And if someday they tell us, well, we're not making enough money to make that worth our while, we're going to find actors that we only have to pay $10 an hour, we're going to find directors that are engineers too, so they can do it at the same time, and just give you translations. Yeah, or we're going to send it to Singapore. Your dubs are just gone. I mean, it's just going to be bottom of the barrel dubs. It won't even be
that
worthwhile.
affects not only the dubs, but it would affect, like, you know, subtitles.
Oh,
So you're gonna get somebody that you can pay $5 an hour to do subtitles for, which means that the subtitles are gonna stop.
Well,
Yeah,
there's, I mean, with business, you know, there is a whole thing that you do need to focus and streamline and sort of do things as economically as you can without killing your product, because eventually, I mean.